Hey, welcome to the Cheap Air Gunner channel. It's Cherokee Steve. I'm going to be doing a pellet testing video. The pellet I'm going to be testing, the GAMO rocket. These are the ones that are basically a hollow point pellet with a BB embedded in the head of the pellet. They're 14.5 grain. The testing is going to be pretty simple. I am basically just going to be testing for velocity / power and also for accuracy. As I explained in my previous video, I'm going to hold off on doing penetration testing for this particular pellet until I will do a summary video of the 3 newer pellets that I just got in, which includes this GAMO rocket pellet. It will also include the GAMO PBA Raptor pellets and the H&N Excite Spike pointed pellets. That way we have something to compare one pellet to another. But I'm going to hold off on doing that, not in this particular video, but I'll do it in a penetration specific video at the end of the pellet series. So okay. I will have a camera set up downrange here in my basement. I will be shooting at the lower left-hand target, and I will also be passing along the velocity numbers for each pellet, and I will figure out foot-pounds of energy based on those velocity numbers. I will be using the KT-HPA. It's back together. For the time being, it is holding air, and I've got it topped off to 14 MPa. So I'll also include the air usage as far as these 5 shots, starting at 14 MPa and where that takes me down to on the pressure gauge. So I won't be topping anything off. I will just be doing 5 straight shots. I'm really curious how these pellets are going to do. I have read a lot of negative things in regards to GAMO pellets, but I have never shot them. So I'm completely open-minded and really curious to see how these pellets perform. Now, as far as the tin itself, and just visually taking a look at the pellets that are in here, it does have a very deep hollow skirt, and I am thinking with that BB embedded in the head of the pellet, they maintain the weight of the pellet by making the skirt hollow and deep with the added weight of the BB. That would put the vast majority of the weight of the pellet up front, and I wonder how that's going to affect the performance. But we'll see. Let's find out. Let's try them. Shot number 2. Shot number 3 coming up. shot number 4. Shot 5. As far as air consumption goes with the gun, it started out, as I said, at 14, maybe slightly above 14 MPa. And after the last shot, it took me just under 13 MPa. So let's round that off to a total air usage of 2 MPa over 5-shot group. Now, I will do a conversion and figure out what 2 MPa translates into as far as PSI. That's probably much more helpful to understanding that air consumption. It would be for me. So let me check that out. 2 MPa equals what PSI? So as far as that air consumption goes, that 2 MPa equals 290 PSI, which I think is extremely reasonable. It's a good indication that the gun is performing exactly how it should as far as the valve opening and closing the way that it should. It's not exerting a whole lot of excessive pressure, getting the pellet out of the barrel, and good conservation of air and good usage of air. As far as those velocity numbers go, I'm surprised it was as low as it was as far as the air usage. So that's good to see. Hope that's a little interesting statistic to include in the review. Now, as far as accuracy goes, I do have to apologize because there was one shot already taken on this particular target, but I know exactly which one it was. I had been shooting some 14.3 grain Crossman Premiers, and I had been sighting in my dot sight after getting the gun back together and getting the sight back on. And I had already sighted it in, and I had tested a single shot on this lower left-hand target. And actually, this one touching the red in the center is from a Crossman Premier. So it's this outer grouping with the GAMO pellets. As you can see, they're all touching, but the grouping really isn't too good. Now, even if it was off center, which they were, I wouldn't have a problem if the grouping was better than this. Now, as you could see from the video, I was just shooting off of a bag. And normally I don't do that and get much better accuracy than this. So, overall, I'm not super impressed with the accuracy of this particular pellet. It seems to be almost a linear vertical line coming from these pellets. As you could tell by the velocity numbers, they really were very consistent. There wasn't a huge drop shot to shot. So as far as anything coming out like this from top to bottom because of a drop in air pressure, I really don't see that accounting for this. So I have shot much more accurate pellets. So let's get to the overall summary of the pellet. Overall, I was impressed with the velocity numbers. something slightly, a little bit higher, very slightly, but higher in claimed weight, 14.5 grain, to say something like a Crossman Premier at 14.3, but very similar numbers. So, and that equals very powerful numbers. Again, we're talking right at 20 foot-pound of energy range. Something much more than sufficient for taking small game. But something as close as I have down here, a 10-meter overall distance in my basement, that accuracy I really wasn't too impressed with. As far as the quantity of the pellets, it's only a 100 count. You only get 100 per tin. And as far as the value goes, price-wise, for 100 pellets, you can easily buy a tin of 250 of the H&N Excite Hammer domed pellet, which is a 14.66 grain pellet. So again, you're staying right in that 14.5-inch grain area as far as weight of the pellet, and you can get something less expensive and get more pellets per tin and get better accuracy. So I'm not very impressed with these GAMO pellets. These particular ones I will continue to shoot and report any changes, if there are any, as far as my impressions of the GAMO rocket. Not too impressed. It really doesn't matter what power you get from a pellet if it's not an accurate pellet. So look forward to getting to the next pellet test. And guys, stay safe and shoot safe.